Hey everyone, Yusuf from Airstack here, and in this video I'm going to show you how to easily listen to any Farcaster real-time events using the new Airstack webhooks. And using the webhooks, you can essentially listen to profile creation, profile updates, followings, and unfollowings. So without further ado, let's get started. So for getting started with webhooks, right here I already set up a special repository here for a starter kit, essentially so that you can easily get started and create your first webhook using Airstack. So simply just clone this GitHub repository, link down in the description below. And once you clone the project, essentially you can open it in your favorite editor. In this case, I'm going to use VS Code in here. And the first thing that you need to do to set up a project is essentially install the dependencies. So you can do npm install, and then it will generate essentially node modules. I already have it right here. And then other than that, you also need to set up the environment variables right here. So for the environment variables, you can simply just copy the .env.example and rename it to .env right here. I'm not going to show what's the content in my .env right here, but essentially we have two environment variables right here, which is the Airstack auth key and the Airstack API key. So the Airstack auth key is going to be the authentication key that we're going to receive when we want to validate a request from the webhooks, and I'm going to show you how to get that later. And for the Airstack API key, essentially it's the API key for calling any type of service from the Airstack APIs. So once that's done, first you will need to establish your endpoint to receive the payload from the Airstack webhooks. So in that case, I already have the file for the template for the endpoint that you will need for the webhooks. In this case, the only requirements for the webhooks endpoint is very simple. It needs to be a post REST API, and it needs to return status 200 response at the end. So you can use any framework that you want, any language that you want, as long as it fulfills this requirement. In this case, I already just use Express.js right here, but feel free to use any other framework that you want to. So once you have that, then the first step, essentially, we're done with it. So very simple, just need the post REST API that returns status 200 at the end. Once we have that, essentially, we can run this. So by the way, if you go to package.json right here, we have some scripts to start the npm, the server, the Express server, and then we're also gonna use ngrok to essentially tunnel this so that it's accessible by the Airstack webhooks directly. So in this case, first you will need to npm run start to start the Express server locally. And once we have the server run in port 4000, then we can use ngrok to tunnel the local server so that it's accessible throughout the global internet. So in this case, I'm gonna run npm run ngrok here. There you go. So once it's done, essentially this is gonna be your webhook endpoint URL. And let's copy this. And then let's go to the next step, which is creating the webhook. And we'll need the endpoint that we just copied just now right on this field right here, on this variable, more precise. So paste it here. And this will be essentially used as an input to the Webhooks API. And from Airstack, we provide Webhooks API to manage your webhooks. So from creating, deleting, we all have it. Now, if you go to the browser, you can access all the Webhooks API, and this is our REST API, just regular REST API, in the swagger.airstack/webhooks. So there you go. And the one we test right now is an API for you to create and set up your webhook. So in this case, all the variables, I already set it in right there. You will need your Airstack API key right there, so make sure to provide it into your environment variables. And the only thing that you need to change will be the base URL right here. And why there's a base URL, because like the endpoint itself that is exposed from our server, as you see right here, is going to be /webhook right here. So we need the base, and then like when we provide the endpoint as an input, it's going to add /webhook behind it. Other than that, we also can configure the filter config right here. In this case, I mentioned that using the Airstack Webhooks, you can listen to 4 types of events: profile creation, profile updates on Farcaster, and then also follow or any unfollow in real time. So in this case, I'm just gonna do a really simple example using the profile creation events. So uh, essentially with this, Airstack Webhooks is going to return me uh, going to return all the event payload into my endpoint for anytime someone create a new profile on the Farcaster network. So once all are configured, then I can call this using Axios. You can use other libraries as well, of course. And if it's successful, it's going to return that I have successfully create the webhooks. Otherwise, it's going to prompt me that there was an error right here. So real quick, gonna open another terminal right here. Let's save it, and then npm run. We already have a script as well right here for create webhook. So click enter, and in a moment it's going to create us webhook. There you go. And it will provide the associated webhook ID, the portal link where you can access, it essentially give you a UI dashboard where you can access your webhooks and track like what events is being sent directly to your endpoints. And yeah, just like that. And also, as I mentioned, there will be like an authentication, which is going to be like the Airstack auth key that I mentioned previously. Now, in this case, you will need to provide the header value of this into the Airstack auth key right here. So just paste it there, and you're good to go. And And by adding the authentication key just now, essentially we can use that to verify and validate whether like the request is genuinely coming from AirSec or not. Because like your endpoint is essentially open to anyone to call your endpoints, and sometimes someone might be maliciously sending fake data directly to your webhooks, and that might not be beneficial to you and maybe even harmful. So in that case, it'll be very important for you to validate any request that's coming to your webhook endpoints. In this case, you can do that by using this script right here that I was commenting in the beginning. So in this case, it's going to check whether the request headers of the x-airstack-webhook, which is going to be this field that is returned when we create the API as well. And we're going to check whether like it's returning the same auth key that is being given by us when we create the webhooks right here. So that's why we want to store it in the environment variables, because like every time like a new request is sent, it's going to attach this auth key in the headers, and we can use this to check and validate whether the request is generally coming from AirSec or not. And if it's not, which is written in the logic right here, then you can just return that it's unauthorized and also send status 401 in this case, so it errors out. Otherwise, you can continue on and write further your business logic on how to handle like the data payload that you receive. You can either put this into your database, or maybe like create real-time notifications, or any other use case that you have depending on what you want to achieve. Now that you have your webhook set up, your endpoint set up, you're ready to receive data payload whenever like someone create a new Farcaster profile on the Farcaster network. And as you can see right here, if I scroll up right here, these are like some sample data structure that you will receive whenever someone create a new Farcaster profile, and it will detail like uh, what's the name of their Farcaster profile, when it was created, and many other details that you have right here. If I scroll down, there will be like new events, as you can see right here. And each time someone creates a new profile, it's going to be like this data payload is going to be returned real time directly into your endpoint right there. Also, feel free to check out more in our webhooks documentation that I have in the screen right here. I'm going to link the description down below, and you can see like uh, you have the section from Quick Start, managing webhooks, more details on your use case from profile creation, updates, follow or unfollow, depending on maybe like you just want to listen to certain type of event that fulfills certain type of criteria. Then you can also do that and just check out our docs right there. Thanks so much for watching and hope this has been helpful. If you have any questions, feel free to comment down below as usual. And I'll see you guys again in the next video. So happy coding.